Howdy peeps, hope you're doing well. It's been a little while since I've done a video, and this is one that I've been wanting to do. I've tried several times over the last week, and you know me, right? I just go off on a tangent, and whereas I do cover lots of topics that are relevant to the subject that I'm talking about, yeah, it can go on for like 20 minutes, and I get it. You don't want to hear me drivel on about shit, really. So, right, first of all, I want to express my utmost disappointment, right? Because preparation is everything here, right? My utmost disappointment at still not having hit 1,000 views on that walking away from people MGTOW. 953, right? And a good handful of those are going to be me, where I've checked out on comments and stuff like that, right? It's like, come on, man, what are you playing at? Seriously, like I know it's like I've said that I don't want to be the next. Sorry, just moving shit about. I don't want to be the next Paul Joseph Watson because I can't keep this steam up. I don't want to be talking about the usual sort of topics within the sort of MGTOW red pill sphere, as it were. Although, look, it's one of these things where I'm going to talk about them because it's something that is relevant, and a lot of guys don't know how the hell to deal with things. Anyway, the topic of this video is going to be marriage. And I know a lot of you are already thinking, well, we're talking about marriage for us. So, no, look, from a realistic point of view, I had this conversation with a friend the other day. And it just sort of crept up out of nowhere. It's just sort of like, well, would you get married again? And I just sort of laughed. It's like, no, I can't afford the divorce. That's what it comes down to. And a lot of people sort of think that, or I suppose maybe rightly assume, that I have got a negative viewpoint on marriage. It's not about having, I honestly, right, I love the idea of getting some girl, right, and finding out who she is, finding out that you're compatible, you got the same. I've got to turn my phone over because otherwise I'm going to start looking at notifications, and you don't want that. This is not what I'm here for, right? But to meet someone and go through all the getting to know them, you figure out that you're compatible, and the hard part for me is keeping my feet on the ground and my head out of the clouds. That is the hard part for me because, like a lot of other guys, it's like, a lot of people, in fact, it's not just subject to guys that do it. And whereas you think, this sounds like I'm putting people down here, but there's no two ways around it. You're projecting your fantasy of who you want them to be. Right, so in your mind, it's like, even if they do have a few things that you're not totally comfortable about or you're not totally happy with, you'll still be quite happy to dismiss it because it's someone that you really like. It's the same as buying a shit car, right? Or a shit bike, or a shit boat, or just anything that's like, realistically, not a lot of good for you in one way or another, right? It's not really what you wanted. But because of the thing, in terms of vehicles, I suppose you could call it lust if it's women we're talking about. Because, I think a lot of relationships now, they're based more on lust than they are actually on love. But the sort of the process that you go through in getting to know someone, and all right, let's just break all the sort of boundaries of men going your own way and all that sort of thing. And all right, say you have a long-term relationship and you end up moving in together. Right, now, one thing that can be, I swear down with this thing flashing and everything in my face, it's like, go away. With the whole thing of dating and getting to know people, they can kind of mask who they are for the most part in limited sort of amounts of time. So usually over the period of about 90 days, you kind of get a gist of what someone is like. And that's assuming that they're not presenting themselves to be someone that they're not, because they might have an agenda, which again is another path that I don't want to go down, but it's a realistic path as well. We've all known of the women, or know of women, or have heard of women that get with a guy and then unexpectedly they get pregnant. Just out of the blue. It's like the Holy Conception, you know. It's just, oh, I just got pregnant. It's like, no, you didn't just get pregnant, right? You was doing things that lead to pregnancy in the first place, you know. And sure, you could argue the toss as to whether, you know, like precautions or, what's the word? Preventatives, I suppose. You know, preventative measures, be it the pill or whatever. You know, they're only good up to a point, you know, especially if there's any other sort of medication, legal or otherwise, that can sort of affect that. But that's, again, going way off topic, right? But even to the point that, you know, you cohabitate, and I've been through this. I can't even afford to go, well, I can afford to cohabitate initially and go throughout the sort of nice part, as we'll call it, of a relationship. But when you go your separate ways, now, cohabitation, I'd say yes if you're renting, no if you're looking at getting a joint mortgage. Because it's as simple as this. I mean, even if the mortgage is only one person's name, you're still going to end up going down, if you break up, right, you're going to end up going down a dark path of finances. You know, solicitors love it. You know, that's why they exist. You know, that's why they're driving around in these big flash fancy cars. It's not because they're cheap. You know, you're talking 50 quid for a phone call and about 200 or 250 quid for a letter. That's a lot of money, you know, bearing in mind the calls that they have to make and the letters that they have to write. It all soon adds up to, you know, in some cases, several thousands of pounds. And now it's just on a cohabitation dispute. Right, that is somewhere where you've got a property together. You both got mortgages, right? Or a mortgage with both of you on it. And then there's the dreams, as it were, that we all have when, you know, we get into these. You know, we've all had them. It's like, even if it's not about the wife and the 2.4 or 2.5, whatever the hell it is these days. One of them identifies one thing, the other identifies the other, and the other's probably a toaster or something. Just saying. But in all seriousness, it's like, you know, it's when it comes to divorce, and this is what a lot of women really don't understand. You know, and for women, a lot of the time it's that they're encouraged to sort of push the boat out, as it were, and see how much they can gain from a breakup. From, you know, in terms of a cohabitation, it's kind of quite clear cut and straightforward. I would say this: keep receipts for everything. If you're going to play that game, keep receipts for absolutely everything, because when it comes down to the breakup, and you know, this is all relevant stuff. You know, I'm telling you guys, because if you want to play this game, right, this is what you're looking at. Been there, done it, got the t-shirt, right? Marriage, been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And sure, look, I probably like the idea of a wedding, although I don't like the idea of pedestaling women too much, for the simple reason that it gives them ideas above their station. You know, they start thinking, oh, he does me this much. Well, what can you? This is where the whole saying of what have you done for me lately, right? Which is, sure, a lot of women do sort of use that. It's sort of like, well, all right, well, what have you done for me lately? You know, throwing it back at them, as it were. You'll often find it will soon divert off into an argument of sorts and a serious disagreement. And again, that can come with its own set of problems. So when it comes to, you know, marriage and divorce, it's like, I don't know why people are still doing it. I don't. It's like, look, to each their own. If it works, fine, fantastic. But from a guy's perspective, when you've been through a divorce, you know, and I'm just talking about the finances side. I'm not talking about any bad blood, as it were, that might go on between the couple, right? Because that can happen, especially if one's got a bit of an entitlement issue, should we say, and they seem to think that they deserve everything because fuck you reasons, right? Which has been a thing. We've all seen it, you know. And realistically, unless you're up there earning similar to sort of like, I don't know, soccer players, for those of you across the pond, football, right? Or unless you're someone like Bill Gates, because he's going through it at the moment, and not that I feel sorry for him, it's like, well, he ain't going to notice. He might be a little bit upset that he's got no one to cuddle up to at night or something like that, but other than that, I'm sure he can buy someone else, quite literally. You know, this is it. You, realistically speaking, you don't have to be attractive if you've got that amount of money. Why? Because some women just want that, excuse the expression, easy ride of getting a shit ton of stuff without having to work for it. Do you know what I mean? And sure, look, we all know that not every woman is like that. But realistically, there is a percentage out there that are. And, you know, Bill Gates ain't going to notice it. He's not your average guy. He's not like the sort of rest of us living in the air quotes non-multi-millionaire real world. You know, it's... I can't be sold marriage. And like I said before, I even say to friends, when we're sort of having a bit of banter back and forth, I'll say to some of them, oh yeah, wife material right there. I've even said that to ex-girlfriends. I've even said that to some of my ex-girlfriends in the past. But I suppose in the same sense that they told me that they loved me, right? I meant it there and then at that moment in time. It didn't count throughout the rest of it. It's the same mentality. They hate it when you do that, by the way. It doesn't come recommended. I'm just sort of saying, you know, oh, no. I said that was then. You know, this is now. That was then. That moment in time because you did something nice. You know, the rest of the time you're a twat, you know. You know, I'm just messing. But seriously, when I do say to other girls that I'm sort of friends with, it's like, oh yeah, great wife material. You know? Yeah, it's meant as that. And personally, I don't see, because I can't look at marriage in a, I suppose, from a emotional point of view. Whereas, oh, wouldn't it be lovely? It's like, yeah, how much is that going to cost me? But then more importantly, if you decide that you're not happy, how much is it going to cost me later on? And realistically speaking, a lot of guys nowadays simply cannot afford to get divorced. Simply cannot afford to have kids. Now, look, I get that, you know, like the sort of people say, especially on the internet, about men going their own way and red pill. It's like, oh, well, they're just bitter. It's like, no. It's like we soon learn that you got to look at things a lot more rationally than what you would like to. I love the idea of someone having that much, air quotes, love for me that I would spend 50k on a wedding. I'd never spend that much on a wedding. Never in my life. I can't justify it. Just no, there's no one that special on this planet, right? That I would do that for. Just no. But it's only once you've gone through it that you really see things for what they are. And it's like, all right, well, yeah, it might. This is it. It's a 50-50 thing. It might last you a lifetime. You know, you might even have an accident at work and you may lose your life, and, you know, she gets all the benefits from that, as it were, if that is what you signed up to. And in that sort of sense, it doesn't really make a great deal of difference, because you're 6 foot under pushing up daisies and she's not. Or it could go the other way, and whereas she might not make it for whatever reason, and you're still left back to square one. And look, I get it. That's not the prettiest of things to have to think about. It's also quite a real thing. But ultimately, I don't think guys can afford to get divorced anymore. That's what it comes down to. Especially if you've been married once, you know, you can't unsee you can call it a darker side if you want, but I suppose a horrible side to a partner who you once thought really cared and loved and respected you. Once you've seen that happen a couple of times, you're just sort of like, oh, no. no, that path is not for me, because it's not a good financial investment anymore. That's all it comes down to. So, anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up, short and sweet, as I hoped. So, thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to drop them down in the comment section as always. And until the next one, stay cool, stay free, stay out of trouble. Peace out.